Hey everybody, so I was going through some of my albums, cleaning up around here, and I found some boxes with some stuff. I have many albums, and I was thinking about talking about some albums that would be interesting to have in your collection if you guys collect vinyl, or something that, you know, that might be fun to do if you want to begin a vinyl collection. So I just picked some records off the top. For example, this Bill Evans record, Portrait in Jazz. It's a trio record with Scott LaFaro on the bass and Paul Motion on the drums. If you remember, Keith Jarrett, who I just interviewed, he had Paul play drums on his record that he had with Charlie Hayden, or on many records actually, in his American Quartet with Charlie Hayden and Dewey Redman. Found this Charlie Parker record here. It just says Volume 1. There's many Charlie Parker records. They've been reissued so many times, but some of the tunes on here are classics. Moose the Mooch, Yardbird Suite, A Night in Tunisia, Scrapple from the Apple. I mean, these are really all Charlie Parker tunes. If you play jazz or know Charlie Parker, these are tunes to know. They're on, these versions are on many different records. This is a great guitar record here. Weekend in LA. It's a double record. George Benson. I listened to this record a million times. It's a classic live album. Harvey Mason on drums. It has Phil Upchurch on rhythm guitar. It's really nice to have the two guitars on here. Stanley Banks on bass. This is a killer live record. This record, Motions and Emotions, my dad bought me this record. He has a Jimmy Webb tune on here called By the Time I Get to Phoenix, but really the standout track, he's got Yesterday and Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles, but the standout track is Wave by Antonio Carlos Jobim. The cool thing about this record is there's extended vamps. I don't know if I've ever done it on a video before. I think I might have talked about it on on this channel on a live stream a long time ago. But there's extended vamps over one chord, over numerous chords, long lines that he plays, like over sus chords, over minor seventh chords. And I transcribed this stuff, so many of these licks off this record, and played them on guitar. They're hard to play too. Great record, Pat Metheny, Watercolors. This has Watercolors, Ice Fire, Oasis, Lakes, River Kwai, Sweet on the second side. This is Pat's record that he did with Lyle May's first record, and Eberhard Weber on the bass, and Danny Gottlieb on the drums. Beautiful record if you don't know it. This record, Dream So Real, when I talked to Pat Metheny, I actually asked him about this record. It's the music of Carla Bley, and he recorded this the day before, or the 2 days before he did Bright Size Life. It features Bob Moses on the drums. Now, Bob played drums on Bright Size Life, and Gary really was involved with Bright Size Life. So Pat told the story of Jocko coming over on the second day of recording this. If you go back and watch the Pat Metheny interview, it's the first question I asked, but it was actually this record that features Mick Goodrick, who is my old guitar teacher who passed away a few months ago, and Gary obviously on vibes, and Steve Swallow on the bass. Beautiful record. This record, Klaus Ogerman, the great arranger and composer. This record came out in '76. It's actually has some different soloists on here. Michael Brecker, George Benson plays on a track on here. These are beautiful arrangements. David Sanborn. I've had this record forever. Really beautiful writing on here. Incredible arrangements. This record, Tete Montelou. Tete is a fantastic pianist. This is called Music for Perla. Some of the outstanding tracks on here are really all of them. There's some amazing modern jazz piano lines. It's a killer record. I've had this forever. I transcribed a lot of licks off this record too. Let's see here. George Benson, Beyond the Blue Horizon. It has Ron Carter and Jack DeJohnette on this. I don't know if I talked to Ron when I interviewed him on my channel, but we did talk about some of the George Benson recordings, and this is one of them that's a really killer record. This is the Pat Metheny First Circle. The tune First Circle is really a just fantastic arrangement. If you don't know it, it's one of Pat's most beautiful songs, Pat and Lyle's most beautiful songs, and love this record. That tune First Circle, though, I should do a video on that. Fantastic. Wes, Tequila. Okay, this is one of the Verve records that Wes did. All these records here, Bumpin' on Sunset, The Thumb, How Insensitive, Tequila. These are great. This is beautiful, beautiful Wes record. It's not Bumpin' on a Sunset, it's Bumpin' on Sunset. Crystal Silence, Gary Burton and Chick Corea. I believe this was 72. It came out, 1972. This is, I think, their first duo record that they did. And they, when I interviewed Gary, he said that they played together once a year for 45 years. Incredible. Dave Holland, this record, Quintet, Jumpin' In, it's called, with Steve Coleman, Steve Ellington, Julian Priester, and Kenny Wheeler. This is a great ECM record, came out in 1984. Really cool Dave Holland solo record. Egberto Gismonti record. For those of you that know him, just a fantastic, fantastic composer, performer, pianist, guitarist. This is a beautiful record. I haven't listened to this in a long time. I need to actually put it on. He's just an amazing, amazing musician, Brazilian musician that you should definitely know about. The poll winners, Barney Kessel, Shelly Manne, Ray Brown, classics, all these records that they did. They did a bunch of records together. John Abercrombie, Gateway 2 with Jack DeJohnette and Dave Holland. I love these old ECM records from the late 70s. You see a picture of Jack here, not on the drums, but on the piano. Jack is a fantastic piano player in addition to being an amazing drummer. This is Wes Montgomery. Okay, these records have many different covers on them. This has Besame Mucho, Dearly Beloved, Days of Wine and Roses, Fried Pies, all the stuff from that are on the Boss guitar. But these Riverside records have, so many of these jazz records just have different versions of them, different covers. Don't be confused by them. You can look them up on Spotify, but a lot of times you'll see them, you'll be, I don't recognize the cover. But the tunes, Fried Pies, just incredible blues. One of my all-time favorite West blues. Joni Mitchell, Shadows and Light. Oh, this is the band. There's a video of this that was recorded in 1979. Michael Brecker, Pat Metheny, Jocko, Lyle Mays. Some of Joni's best songs, Don Elias on the drums. It's just outstanding. If you get a chance on YouTube, you can see the entire live concert, but it's basically like a greatest hits of Joni's records. Thelonious Monk, Crisscross. Beautiful. Some super swinging songs on here. If you like swing, Steamin' with the Miles Davis Quintet. This is the 50s quintet. With Red Garland on the piano, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe Jones on the drums, and John Coltrane. Classic. Along with this, Relaxin'. Once again, Red Garland, same group. Paul Chambers on the bass, Philly Joe Jones on the drums. This has the classic Oleo version that I love to play. I listen to it in the car all the time. Bill Evans' Village Vanguard Sessions. Gotta know this record. Beautiful. This Monk record, Genius of Modern Music, Thelonious Monk. Once again, gotta love Monk. Shape of Jazz to Come. This is a absolutely outstanding record. Charlie Hayden, Don Cherry on the cornet, Billy Higgins on the drums, Ornette on the alto saxophone. If you like free jazz, or if you like music that swings this is a killer record. Pat Metheny played with Charlie Hayden and Billy Higgins on his Rejoicing record, which I probably have somewhere in here, maybe in this pile. Swerve Driver, Mescal Head, Shoegaze. This is a classic. Came out in 1993. I've had this record forever. I wore out the tape when I first got it. I bought it in San Francisco back in 1993. Love this. I've had Adam Franklin on. I've interviewed him. He's a genius. Like I said, Rejoicing, here it is. This is the record with Billy Higgins on the drums and Charlie Hayden on bass, Pat Metheny. When I interviewed Pat, he said that Pat, talking about this record, he didn't feel some of the straight ahead tunes were as good as they played them live. He might be right about that. But he has two of his finest tracks on here. Lonely Woman is a Horace Silver composition. It has one of the most beautiful acoustic guitar, or what it's hard to describe, but just incredible recording. And then of course Tears Inside is a really great version. So I disagree with Pat on that. Story from a Stranger, Pat plays one of his best guitar synth solos, and it's a beautiful Pat composition. Obviously Miles, Birth of Cool, everybody should have that on vinyl. Everybody should have Blue Train on vinyl. That has Moment's Notice on it, Blue Train. Everyone should have Revolver on vinyl. You should have all the Beatles records on vinyl. Wes, Full House. This is unbelievable. I've talked about a lot of the tracks on here. Blue and Boogie, Kariba, I did a video on that. And the tune Full House. This is amazing. Stan Getz and Joao Gilberto recorded live at Carnegie Hall. Love this record. In the same vein, I've got dust all over me from this stuff. These are dusty. A Certain Mr. Jobim, the music of Antonio Carlos Jobim with Klaus Ogerman arranging and conducting. Oh man, this absolutely kills this record. Gordon Lightfoot, If You Could Read My Mind. Is that actually the real record? But this is from 1970, I believe. This is, once again, a classic. I made What Makes a Song Great on the song, If You Could Read My Mind. The great Pat Martino. Wow, this record is outstanding. If you're into guitar playing and jazz guitar playing, can't miss with this. Once again, Billy Higgins on the drums on this. Ornette, Metheny, Pat Martino has an incredible version of How Insensitive. Footprints, Road Song by Wes Montgomery are on this record. This is a classic guitar record. Let's see what else here. Sketches of Spain, Miles. Oh yeah. Frank Sinatra, Antonio Carlos Jobim. Unbelievable. I wanted to make a video on this record because it has the arrangements of Klaus Ogerman on it, and they're really, really just blows my mind. The singing, the arrangements, everything. Oh, so good. Miles Davis, in concert, My Funny Valentine. I asked Ron about this. I think this is one of the records. It has George Coleman on the saxophone. This is the 60s quintet, but not with Wayne Shorter. But I asked him, he said, yeah, these things Miles would record live. They didn't even know that they were recording the records. This is a record that you should definitely know. This is Wayne Shorter, Native Dancer, featuring Milton Nascimento. Wow. If you were to buy any record in here, this is unbelievable. The compositions on here. Miles Davis, ESP. Love this record. I love the tune ESP. This is with Miles's 60s quartet. Sorry. Quartet? No, quintet. Keep screwing those up. Quintet, 5. Right? Miles, Wayne Shorter's on this with Herbie Hancock on the piano, Tony Williams on the drums, and Ron Carter on the bass. The tune ESP I played on many, many gigs. It's a great standard to play. It's a jazz standard. I love this record. Rolling Stones, Goat's Head Soup. This has my favorite song on there, Angie. One of my all-time favorite ballads. It's a very weird record cover. Of course, we love that. Alan Holdsworth, IOU, the original record. This was his first solo record. Gary Husband on the drums. I asked Gary about this. And he told me that, I believe he told me that they recorded it in 80 and released it in 82, if I'm not mistaken. Go back and watch Sounding Off that I did with Gary Husband. Eric Dolphy, Out to Lunch. Wow. This is just so swinging. Freddie Hubbard, Bobby Hutcherson, Richard Davis, Anthony Williams. Wow. Anthony Williams, Tony Williams on the drums. This is a beautiful record. It's a Blue Note record, a classic. Wynton Marsalis, Think of One. I think this is Wynton's first record. This is, I want to say 1980 or so. This came out, 83. This came out when I was in college. I paid $3 for it back then. I bought it used. That's how much you could get records for. Art Tatum, once again, these records have been repackaged a million times. This one has Willow Weep for Me on here, and it's really hard to say. They just put out the same, just different compilations here with these Art Tatum. But if you know Art Tatum, a genius on the piano, just one of the most influential and forward-thinking modern pianists. That was Oscar Peterson's big inspiration. Did I talk about this Mingus record? Billy, did I talk about this Mingus record already? Once again, this particular record has been re-released with different covers. It came out in 1959. You can find it on Spotify or on Apple Music. You'll probably find it with a different cover on it. But it's a classic Mingus record. Larry Carlton, Mr. 335. I think this is Larry's first solo record. People used to get record deals if they played in Steely Dan's. If they played on a Steely Dan record, they got record deals if they were instrumentalists, especially if they're guitar players. Miles Davis, Milestones. Okay, so this is the 50s quintet. I got this right this time. This is with Cannonball Adderley and John Coltrane, Red Garland, Philly Joe Jones, Paul Chambers. Here's something interesting. This has Milestones on it, which I used to play in gigs all the time. Straight No Chaser, Dr. Jekyll, 2-bass hit. Now, if you play the song Milestones and you start it at the beginning and then you lift the needle and move it to the end, you'll notice it's like 10 beats faster. No, maybe it's 10 beats slower. It either speeds up or slows down. I'd have to listen to it again, but you don't notice it because it's so grooving, but the tempo change from the beginning to the end is really amazing. They didn't play with clicks back then. Exile on Main Street. Probably the best Rolling Stones record ever. I drove my kids nuts with this record when they were really young, but I used to play the song Happy. That's a Keith Richards tune with them singing lead on it. And when you're listening to it, you're thinking it's Mick Jagger if you're not paying attention. Then all of a sudden Mick comes into the chorus and you go, wow, unbelievable. Mick is a great singer. Well, we know Mick is a great singer, but you really realize what a great singer he is when he comes on and sings the chorus with Keith. And then finally here, Brian Eno, Music for Films. Once again, this is a record that you just put on and you just vibe with. I love Brian Eno as a composer, as a musician, as a producer. Genius. That's a few of my records here from my record collection. If you want to get a vinyl collection, buy any of these, and it's a great start. Don't forget to hit subscribe because we're on Rick Beato 2. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.